enough with the sad shit. So the reason why I'm doing this video today is to really just, I was kind of excited. I found something uh interesting, and I think it's worth sharing. Obviously, there's been a lot of bad press with Palantir in the UK, namely because, there's a lot of concerned citizens that worry about, Palantir having access to, you know, private healthcare data and, using that data for malicious purposes. But, if anyone took, maybe 5 seconds at most to read any of the agreements with the NHS, you would realize right away that Palantir never had access to uh, private data, and it was always controlled by NHS, and the NHS defined who sees what user has access to what type of data. Uh, but uh, we are where we are. The people who are loud. Once a narrative starts, it gets out of control, and then the media just runs with it. And there's a really good expression that comes to mind when I think of the media. It goes it goes like this in French. It's a tempête dans un verre. So what that means essentially is, they create a storm in a glass of water. It's no big deal, but it somehow always ends up being a big deal. So if we go here, typical journalist writing, um, they say, oh, the adult social care dashboard. So they lost a adult social care dashboard, and they offered someone $100,000 to switch out of Palantir to Bay Systems, which is essentially Bay Systems in Europe. It's Europe's largest defense firm. So somehow these activists believe that the database being managed not by data experts, but more companies that are directly involved in military equipment and military hardware, and essentially war, is better. I mean, to each their own, fine. But I think there was a sentence here that I found super interesting, and it just goes to show how, the ordering of sentences, everything can change a title. Here they say the UK government has been criticized for how it handled sensitive data during the pandemic. The NHS allowed Palantir access to sensitive personal data of patients, employees, and members of the public, though the agreement required that the data be stripped of personal identifiers or aggregated before being shared. So, the wording in here is very ambiguous. It makes it look like as if Palantir obtained private sensitive data, and they were circulating it, and it was given to unauthorized users. But in this case, the NHS provided personal data, but it was stripped of personal identifiers. So then what's the risk here? But anyways, it's fine. Maybe it's just me who's not understanding, and Palantir received personal data and it wasn't stripped. But this sentence does not state that. The sentence does not state that Palantir had access to personal data that was not stripped. So if it was stripped, it doesn't matter. Palantir needs to access data to be able to build the links between all the different databases and offer the NHS something of value. Anyway, so the whole point of this video is to, let me get to the point. I was going through the procurement website, the contracts finder of the UK government, and I was going through, I was looking for some 2021, some meat about 2021, and I stumbled across this. Provision of Data Integration Services, published on the 1st of December 2021, a contract value of £5.9 million. So about I don't know, $7 million US. let me just confirm. So what was like 6 million of that? Yeah, okay. It's about 8 million, close to 8 million US. So there was a contract for 8 million US, and it closed in April. The deal closed in April, started on the 23rd, the very next day, and it was expected to be wrapped up in essentially Q4 in October 2021. So I just find it interesting that this wasn't published before. So I don't think it was public information that Palantir was awarded a $7 million US contract, or what was it? Yeah, $8 million US contract, or a £6 million contract. Because if we look at this article here, it just says, oh yeah, they only spent 2 million on Palantir in 2020, and it's a very cool headline. It's very attention grabbing, like, oh no, Palantir is crashing. But the truth is, even Palantir said, the differences in spend could be explained by an upfront multi-year contract signed historically, and did not suggest a cutting of ties. Well, there you have it. There wasn't really a cutting of ties. They did have a £6 million contract that was ongoing from April to October, so about six quarters. What would that be, right? April's like a Q2, Q3, Q4. Yeah, like 7 quarters. So I mean, it's not substantial. Okay, I'm not talking about like, oh my God, they're gonna recognize $8 million and it's gonna pad the revenues at in Q4. It might, depending on how the contract is designed. Like if the contract's designed that, well, would it matter if it's based on the way the contract's designed? If it all hinges on customer acceptance at the end and the customer being satisfied, and until then we're not really sure if the customer is going to be okay, then maybe all the revenues can be recognized at the end. But typically, there are some reasonable milestones. Palantir has been in this game for a while, so as they earn the milestones throughout the contract, I'm sure these revenues were being captured in the financials. But all of this, the whole objective of this video is just say that don't believe the headlines. The headlines can say whatever, and they can preach doom and gloom, but at the end of the day, you have to put your own facts together and make your own decision. Obviously this is not financial advice. This is just for educational purposes. You can decide what you want to do with your Palantir investment, or if you want to invest in Palantir or not. But I think all of this is just to say, don't always believe the narrative that's being pushed. Do your own homework and always be critical. Don't believe everything that you see the first time. And that's pretty much it. So this was a really short video. Thank you, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.